I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky.
So what is IDEA? IDEA is the largest in the world debate education association. We have operations and programs in all continents, and we have members in more than 30 countries. The Youth Forum is our largest event. One of the things that we value in the forum is the fact that it moves each year into a different country, and this gives the opportunity of the participants not only to get together and to know other people and to build friendships and to build their expertise in debate, but also it gives them the opportunity to get to know a country from really inside. For example, this year when we hosted people in Bulgaria, they were able not only to be there together, but they were able to take with themselves a piece of our culture, a piece of our ways of life, a piece of our nature.
It all began with one woman. She lost her son in the war and was understandably enraged. Even though it was her own country that had been attacked and hundreds of her own country people had died, and the war was her country's response to defend itself, she decided that the war was to blame, and that no other parent should experience the loss that she felt. She began talking to her neighbor about it, and convinced her neighbor. Then, she convinced her other neighbor. Each day, she would go out into her community, to the library, to the schools, to the city council, and work to convince people that the war was unnecessary and needed to end immediately. Not everyone agreed with her, but she was a persuasive and passionate woman, and many people did. She and her colleagues wrote letters in the local newspaper, and as their voices grew and created a movement, they were interviewed on television news programs. Their numbers grew enough that first local and then national politicians sought their support. What you've just heard indicates the power of individuals' freedoms of expression to undercut and change governmental policies. Oftentimes, these people are making their accusations based on false information, personal biases, or emotional responses.
So who decides whether a protest is against national security or not?
That's an interesting question, and I guess in this case, there are members of the intelligence defense establishments, the government, who would make those decisions.
It is not in the job of the government to say, you are wrong because you're not taking the three arguments into account, and we say that hence the government also should not have the right to say whether anti-war protests should be allowed just because they're either emotional or not emotional.
So if the people's wish is in conflict with the real national interest, should those government officials do what is right for the national interest?
Well, national interest is a very, weird term. I would just say, yes, I understand there is a limited democracy in a sense, when we have, very big values like the lives of the minorities and the majority wants to kill them, we say, yes, you cannot do that, but we say that that is not that case.
Ladies and gentlemen, we on the affirmative side truly love liberties, and we hate war. However, we acknowledge that there are some situations when in order to achieve the good, you need to do it the hard way. And as we're speaking about situations where the threat is already here, we believe that in order to protect the liberties in the long term, what we have to do is to restrict them for now.
And if through your plan we cannot hold them accountable, then they're not democratic.
No, I wouldn't agree to you that we cannot hold them accountable just because we limit anti-war protests. Because we're not...
We don't have a 100% democratic society or always perfect, always most free society. We have a balance of freedom.
Good democratic regimes do really dodgy things and become undemocratic. So that's the real world that we're living in. That's the issues that we're trying to address in this debate. We can't come up here and tell you that all governments are going to be corrupt, that all democratic institutions are going to be corrupt. But what we can tell you from the experience in history, what history has taught us, ladies and gentlemen, is that we need to set up incentive structures for governments such that they're motivated and incentivized to protect democratic ideals.
Ideally, the kids are doing the work themselves. That's why one of the things about debate is youth using their own voice, coming up with their own ideas, contrasting them with one another, engaging in an intellectual discussion on issues important to themselves and their communities, without there being a pre-described truth. I mean, debate is almost the opposite of most religions, in the sense that we don't start from the presumption that we know what's true. We start from the presumption that there are two sides to these topics, and people have to debate them in one round. Like, very few times, now even the Catholic Church has devil's advocates.
Debate certainly is a very time-consuming activity. I remember in the university, Every Saturday and Sunday was spent at a debate tournament. I was spending approximately 6 hours daily trying to research debate-related activities, where I was only spending about 3 to 4 hours on my history dissertation. The reason why it's time-consuming is that people voluntarily choose to dedicate their own time. And I would say that the time hasn't been lost whatsoever, because that's where I've learned to express myself as an individual. That's where I've created my own persona, my individualistic projection to the world. And if it hadn't been for debate, I might have had hollow knowledge of the world, but I wouldn't have been able to express it in any type of communicable form.
IDEA's purpose is not to radically change anyone's mind or to change countries or anything like that. It's to help the students become better citizens when they go back home, so that they're more active, more involved, whether that means that they support the current regime or the current government, or whether it means that they want to oppose the current government. I mean, that is the student's choice.
Debate is not demagoguery. A good debate is using reason and argument, not riling up national passions, not appealing to base sentiment. We would say that's a bad debater. Now, again, you're very right. Debate's a skill. Like anything, a skill could be used. You could be making a propaganda film, not a documentary. Karadzic is in The Hague now because of what he said. He didn't go and slaughter people in Srebrenica, but he ordered it. He persuaded he's persuaded Serb nationalists to slaughter Bosnian Muslims through persuasion. The same skill we're teaching. But we're trying to teach people not to do it that, and we're trying to teach audiences to listen and realize the fallacies in the arguments. Because, I mean, I think what's often overlooked is the role of listening in debate. A good debater listens, and that's the key. They listen to what the person's saying, understands the falsehoods, sees where it appeals to base sentiment or where it's a nationalist, and where there's not reason being used, and is able to expose that. They always say, wait, that's not a good argument. That's prejudice. That's... being able to do that is empowering.
The democratic society is based on voting, and everybody knows that. And nowadays, there exists some problems with the percentage of people who are voting. If more people vote, more ideas and opinions are being expressed, the process becomes more democratic. To this point, children are fast learners also, and if they start picking up things earlier, they will learn quicker and they will learn more. They will understand the process more and be active. We are sure that children from the age of 14 should be able to be involved in the politics.
They claim that the point of this is to give the children a voice, that children from the age of 14 should be able to vote. But we believe that this stands in the way of equal opportunity, in the way of the rights of the child, and it stands in the way of free and fair elections, which are the basis of modern democracy.
We're saying that a child would have a possibility of voting, of expressing their ideals. A child who's already 14 years old, a child who's starting to being involved in a truly democratic process, in being involved in all the processes in the truly democratic society. So it must have a right to express their opinions.
But first they have to learn what is critical thinking. First they have to learn that not everything that parents tell to them is necessarily true. And this is what we stand for. This is how we actually secure and achieve our goal and our team line. By individualism, we have different points of view. Different points of view are causing discussions in the society, and these discussions in the society are actually solving the problems, and by solving the problems, the society improves and the society develops.
Parents care about the children, and parents in no way going to try to make the children be some critically not able to think individuals. They seek the best for the children, and they're definitely going to ensure for them to be normal and full individuals. Yes, sir?
So I just want to clarify this. You're saying that all families think for the best of the children?
Okay, we cannot say all, but majority of them.
Democracy doesn't mean that we should vote on every single stupid basis and not really being involved in politics, because democracy, okay?
Democracy exactly means that a person can choose whatever reason he or she wants to vote for. And
yes, of course.
About enough knowledge, a child should not vote. He is not forced to. If he wants to, he will.
That is the reason why we are giving the proxy vote for children. They want to gain experience in our democratic society.
What I actually want to say that by age of 14, I didn't even know that I have rights. I didn't even know that I can practice some rights, and not actually practicing the freedom of choice and freedom of voting. Sit down, please. What are we actually saying? That we can force children so young to become old in 1 second and to deal with all these serious issues they can't actually think.